My name is Jordan Ellis, and I'm 25 years old. 8 months ago, I walked across the stage at Ohio Northern University in a black gown that I bought on sale for $89, hearing my name called for a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering, summa cum laude with honors. The arena held over 1,800 people that day, but the 3 seats I had reserved in the family section stayed completely empty. When I called my mom afterward from the parking lot, I could hear crowd noise, clinking bottles, and loud cheers in the background. She picked up laughing and said, "Honey, we already have one star athlete in the family. We didn't think all that nerdy engineering stuff would actually lead anywhere big." My dad didn't even take the phone. Last week, I posted one simple photo from the parking lot of my new job. Me standing next to a company-issued white Ford F-150 with my name on the door. My mother called 51 times in under 2 hours. I know the exact number because I sat on the hood of that truck and watched every single call come in without answering once. Before I tell you what that photo really meant to me, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you've ever felt invisible on the day that was supposed to be yours. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is right now. I'd love to know who's really listening to stories like this. Now, let me take you back 8 months ago to a warm Saturday morning in May in Ada, Ohio. The sun was already climbing high, but the light in my tiny off-campus apartment felt thin and gray because I hadn't slept much the night before. I stood in front of the bathroom mirror in my cap and gown, trying to adjust the tassel by myself. The fabric was cheap and stiff, and the zipper on the back kept catching. I finally used a bent wire hanger from the closet, hooking it through the tab and reaching behind my neck until it slid up with a cheap plastic sound. I checked my phone. 4 messages to my mother over the past 10 days, all about today. The first one on Monday. Ceremony is Saturday at 10 a.m. I reserved 3 seats in the family section for you, Dad, and Tyler. She replied 2 days later with, "We'll see." Nothing more. Thursday night, I sent another. "It's really happening tomorrow. I'm so excited. First one in the family with an engineering degree." Read at 11:12 p.m. No reply. Friday, I sent a selfie in the gown with the caption, "Tomorrow's the day. Love you guys." My brother Tyler reacted with a thumbs up emoji. My parents? Nothing. Not a single heart, not one word. I grabbed my keys and drove the 15 minutes to campus. The parking lot was already packed with families unloading coolers, mothers carrying bouquets, fathers adjusting ties, and little siblings waving handmade signs that said, "You did it." One girl walked by with both parents on either side, each holding an arm like she was about to float away from happiness. I sat in my old Honda Civic for a long minute, checked the group chat again, still nothing new. I told myself this time would be different. A college graduation isn't some casual dinner you can reschedule. This was proof. 4 years of late nights in the engineering lab, 4 years of ramen noodles and energy drinks, 4 years of group projects where I carried the team while working 25 hours a week at the campus machine shop. If anything was going to make them finally see me, it had to be this. Inside the arena, the noise was overwhelming. Nearly 2,000 graduates, double that many in the stands. Babies crying, air horns going off, parents shouting names. I found my row and sat down, smoothing the gown over my knees. From where I was, I could clearly see the 3 chairs labeled Ellis family up in the reserved section, all 3 completely empty. I texted my mom, "Starts in 25 minutes. Are you guys close?" 2 blue check marks. No reply. I texted Tyler, "Mom and Dad on their way?" 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Finally, IDK, I'm at practice. Tyler was 23, still living at home, and practice meant the local semi-pro football team he played for on weekends, the one my parents drove 2 hours to watch every game. At 9:52 a.m., someone finally sat in one of the family seats. Not my mother. It was Mr. Harlan Whitaker, my 58-year-old machine shop instructor, salt and pepper beard, wearing the same navy blazer he only pulled out for formal events. He placed a small bouquet of blue carnations on the chair beside him and gave me a single, firm nod across the distance. I found out later he'd called my mom the day before to confirm. She told him they had a family sports thing. Mr. Whitaker didn't push. He just bought flowers, drove 40 minutes, and showed up. When they called my name, Jordan Michael Ellis, Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering, summa cum laude, I walked across that stage with my heart pounding. The applause was polite and scattered. No wild screams from the stands, no homemade poster with my face on it, no air horn. Just Mr. Whitaker's deep voice cutting through clearly from the family section. That's my student right there. I held my diploma folder tight, kept walking, and didn't look back at those empty chairs. The parking lot afterward was pure chaos. Families hugging, crying happy tears, taking photos in front of the big university banner. One dad lifted his son onto his shoulders. A grandma held up a cake with the graduate's face printed in frosting. I sat alone on a concrete bench near the east exit and called my mom. She picked up on the second ring. Background noise was loud. Cheers, clattering plates, some country song blasting. "Oh, hi, Jordan. We're at the sports bar downtown. Tyler just scored the winning touchdown in his scrimmage. Isn't that amazing?" I closed my eyes. "Mom, my graduation was today." 3 full seconds of silence. Then, "Honey, we already have one success in the family. We didn't think you'd actually finish all that calculator and wrench stuff." In the background, I heard my dad's muffled voice. "Tell him we'll grab wings next week or something." I opened Facebook right there on the bench. My mom's latest post, time-stamped 2 hours earlier, right when the ceremony started, showed her, my dad, and Tyler at a table loaded with wings and beer. Tyler grinning in his jersey, caption, "So proud of our boy, making moves on the field. Hard work pays off." 67 likes. Heart emojis from aunts and uncles I hadn't heard from in years. I ended the call without another word. I sat on that bench until the lot emptied out. A groundskeeper swept up confetti. Mr. Whitaker had left the blue carnations on my passenger seat with a handwritten note. "First of many, kid. Proud of you." I placed my diploma right beside them, in the seat where my mom should have been sitting if she'd shown up. That was the last time I called my mother for 8 months. Not out of pure anger, but because I finally understood I'd been waiting for approval from people who had already decided the scoreboard only counted touchdowns, not torque and calculations. Let me take you further back so you get the full picture. I graduated high school at 18 with a 3.92 GPA and acceptance letters from 3 solid engineering programs. The best one was Ohio Northern, with a partial scholarship covering $9,500 a year. I brought the thick envelope home on a Tuesday afternoon and set it on the kitchen table. My mom picked it up, scanned it, and set it back down. "We don't really have extra for that kind of thing, Jordan." Same kitchen table, same month. My dad signed papers for a brand new lifted Dodge Ram for Tyler. $42,000 truck, crew cab, all the extras. Tyler was 19, working part-time at the local tire shop and still living at home rent-free. I stood in the driveway watching them hand over the keys. Mom took a dozen photos. Dad clapped Tyler on the back so hard it echoed. Tyler revved the engine loud enough for the whole neighborhood to hear. $42,000 for a truck, 0 for my tuition. I didn't argue. I didn't cry in front of them. I went upstairs, opened my laptop, and started applying for every campus job I could find. For the next 2 years, I lived at home and worked 30-plus hours a week at a local auto repair place, doing oil changes and tire rotations while taking community college classes. I saved $16,800 in a secret account my parents never knew about. I ate the dinners my mom cooked and watched Tyler cruise around in that Ram while I drove a 15-year-old Civic with 180,000 miles. When I turned 20, I transferred to Ohio Northern and paid the rest myself. Loans, books, meal plan, everything. My parents didn't write a single check. My dad drove past campus every other week on his route for the construction company. He never once stopped in, not in 4 years. They didn't have money for my education, but they had money for Tyler's truck, Tyler's football gear, Tyler's endless training camps. Those are two different sentences, and I spent years pretending they meant the same thing. College was 4 years of grinding, half student, half worker. I logged 25 hours a week in the machine shop learning to run CNC machines and weld on top of a full engineering course load. My GPA never dropped below 3.8. Every holiday I came home. Every holiday was the same script. Thanksgiving, my junior year, Mom spent the first 45 minutes talking about Tyler's big game where he got 1 sack. When I mentioned I'd made the dean's list again and won a department award for a robotics project, she said, "That's nice, honey. Can you pass the stuffing?" I'd brought home the framed certificate. She stuck it on the fridge with a magnet, right below a giant photo of Tyler posing with his truck at a car show. The next morning, the certificate was on the floor behind the trash can. Nobody picked it up. My dad visited Tyler at the tire shop every Friday, brought him lunch, leaned on the counter talking shop for an hour. He never once drove the extra 35 minutes to visit me on campus. I checked Google Maps once just to be sure, exactly 37 minutes. 4 years, 0 visits. There was only 1 phone call from him during my entire time in college. Junior year, a random Wednesday night, my heart actually jumped when his name lit up. I answered on the first ring, "Hey, listen, one of my buddies needs a cheap welder for a side job. You know anybody at school who does that?" That was it. 14 seconds total. I gave him a name from the shop roster. He said thanks and hung up. I stared at the phone for a long time after. The night after graduation, I sat in my dark apartment with only the desk lamp on. On my nightstand was the only decent family photo I had, a backyard barbecue from when I was 15. Mom and Dad in the center, Tyler on the right holding a football. I was on the far left edge, half my shoulder cut off by the frame. I did the math that night. 6 years total since high school. 2 years working full-time at the repair shop, 4 years at university. I'd spent roughly $51,000 of my own money and loans I'd be paying on my education. Money from parents? 0. Scholarship? About $38,000 total. The rest came from late nights turning wrenches and soldering circuits. And on my graduation day, they chose a sports bar. I looked at that photo for a long time. 4 people, 3 who chose cheers and wings over my degree, and 1 who had spent 6 years proving he belonged in rooms full of equations and blueprints. I had a choice: keep pouring energy into a relationship that gave nothing back, or take all that effort and aim it forward. I picked up the photo and laid it face down. I didn't throw it away, I just turned it over. Then I opened my laptop and updated my resume at 1:17 a.m. I didn't block them, I just stopped reaching out. For the first time in years, I kept all my energy instead of lending it out on credit that was never repaid. 2 weeks later, my mom called. "We feel bad about missing the ceremony. Let's do a family dinner this weekend." Habit made me say yes. Saturday night, I drove home with a 6-pack of decent beer. For 10 minutes, it almost felt normal. Then Tyler walked in, loud, talking about his latest game highlights. The conversation immediately shifted to him. When I mentioned I had 3 job interviews lined up, my dad looked up from his plate and said, "Engineering? Like fixing cars or something?" Mom tilted her head. "That sounds steady, I guess. Tyler's making real money with bonuses from the team." I cleared the table alone that night, counting 7 plates to keep my mind quiet. In the living room, I overheard my dad tell Tyler in a low voice, Your brother thinks he's too smart for regular work now." That was the last family dinner I attended for a long time. I went to my interviews quietly. The one that mattered was at a mid-sized manufacturing firm in a town 45 minutes away, 180 employees, good reputation for building industrial equipment. My shop instructor, Mr. Whitaker, had personally emailed the engineering manager. During the interview, the director asked the usual questions, then leaned back. "Why mechanical engineering?" I didn't give the rehearsed answer. I said, "Because machines don't play favorites. They either work or they don't, and I like making them work." He wrote something down and smiled. A week later, the call came. Staff mechanical engineer, $71,500 starting salary, plus benefits and a company truck after 6 months. I accepted on the spot, sitting on my kitchen floor because my legs felt weak. I called Mr. Whitaker first. He said, "Don't thank me, thank the hours you put in." I called my best friend, Alex, next, the only person who knew the whole story. He yelled so loud I had to pull the phone away. That night, I looked at my phone, thumb hovering over my mom's name. This was the proof I'd waited years for. A real title, real money, real respect in a field that mattered. But I put the phone down. For the first time, something good happened and I kept it for myself. 2 months into the job, I was already handling real projects, redesigning conveyor systems, running stress simulations, staying late because the work finally felt like mine. My first big paycheck, I put $1,800 straight into savings. I was building something solid.
Then came the company truck assignment. A clean white Ford F-150, fully wrapped with the company logo and my name on the door. I posted one photo from the parking lot, me leaning against it, diploma faintly visible through the window in the background. Simple caption, 6 years of late nights, no cheering section needed. The post didn't stay quiet in a town of 14,000 people. My mom saw it through a cousin's share. She called 51 times while I sat on the hood of that truck after my shift, watching the notifications. My dad drove past my new apartment complex on his route and recognized the truck in the lot. He pulled over but didn't knock. Tyler showed up first, 3 days later, standing awkwardly on my doorstep in his football hoodie. "Nice ride, bro. Mom's freaking out." I told him she had 8 months to show up when it actually counted. He shifted uncomfortably, then admitted he never realized how much I did alone. He left without the usual jokes. My dad started slowing down when he drove past my building every morning, first for 2 minutes, then 5, then longer. One Saturday, he showed up with a toolbox and a new set of wrenches. "Heard the truck might need an oil change soon," he muttered. No big apology, just action, the only language he knew. He spent an hour under the hood while we barely spoke. When he finished, he looked at the framed degree on my wall and said quietly, "First one in the family. Should have been there." I nodded. "Yeah, you should have." My mom still sends messages through relatives. "Tell Jordan I miss him." I read them but haven't replied yet. The door isn't slammed shut forever, but I'm not holding it open waiting anymore. Today, I'm 25, with a degree on my wall, a promotion track in front of me, and a truck I earned parked outside an apartment I pay for completely on my own. I have a mentor who showed up when family didn't, a best friend who celebrates every small win, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing I didn't need a cheering section to cross the finish line. 8 months, 51 calls, 6 years of wrenches and calculations later, I'm finally driving my own road. If you've ever had an empty chair on your biggest day, or felt like your wins didn't count because someone else was louder on the field, then this story is for you. You don't need their applause to succeed. You just need to stop waiting for it. Thank you for staying until the end. If this resonated, like, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. The next video is about another guy who built his future when his family only invested in someone else's spotlight.